let's talk about River State. This is a broad. I don't know if I want us to go back to the interpretation of the Supreme Court. I don't. It will take us time. Maybe you can do that just briefly because we talked that last week, but we didn't. I don't know, the clip was not published, so you can just talk that on a just visit that on a very just in a summaric way. Just summarize the Supreme Court judgment, because what I want us to focus on um the danger that is actually brewing in River State, the impending doom that if not taken care of, will set the River State ablaze. That is what I actually want us to focus on. Barrister, what is your take on what is going on in River State? Summarize to us the Supreme Court judgment and the implication right now, because we all know that the Niger Delta, what do they call it? The Ijo National Council and Ijo Youth Council, Ijo National Council and Ijo Youth Council are, are threatening hell and brimstone should anything happen to Fubara. Because in my own judgment, in my own opinion, I consider the Supreme Court judgment as a ploy by the federal government, excuse me, to actually impeach Fubara, to eventually impeach Fubara. And again, this is what the real indigenes of River State they are not taking lightly. They will not take it lightly, and that's why they are threatening that nothing should happen to the political career of the current governor Fubara. Barrister, what is your take on this?
Yes, I've been criticizing the Supreme Court vigorously on the kind of judgments they have been churning out. And this one, by and large, is not an exception. We have a core issue, one issue that if it was taken, it could have disposed of every other issue legally that is happening in River State. The simple question of whether the 27 lawmakers who read a letter on the floor of the House that they have decamped, and also gave an interview that they have decamped from PDP to APC, whether they still remain members of the House vis-a-vis the provisions of the Constitution. If this issue was tackled head-on, all the other issues that have come up in Rivers would not come up. The issue of presentation of budget to the House will not come up. The issue of even the local government election would not come up. Secondly, as far as I know, the local government is under a state. Constitutionally, only the State House of Assembly can make laws on the functions and operations of a local government, including elections to the office of chairman and councillors in the local government. It is not the business of INEC. And that is why we have state independent electoral commissions in every state that are constitutionally created. So for the Supreme Court to now come up and say the local government election that was conducted in Rivers did not align with the Electoral Act, it doesn't sit well with me. The Electoral Act is a national act. It's a federal act passed by the National Assembly. The National Assembly has no right to legislate over a local government in Nigeria. It is only the State House of Assembly. That's what the Constitution says. So how do you now juxtapose a federal act and now say the election conducted under state law does not meet or does not align with what the federal act says? Now, the appeals that came to the Supreme Court, of course, they had a leeway to say or give the judgment they gave, because the issue of whether the 27 lawmakers who defected should remain did not come to the Supreme Court. Remember, a federal high court had ruled in Abuja that the funds meant for River State should not be given to them until they represent the budget to the Amahole led House of Assembly. That was the matter that went to appeal to the Supreme Court, as well as the conduct of the local government elections. The issue of the legality has not yet come to the Senate. So the Supreme Court had that leeway to make the pronouncement they make. They could say it with justification that we are not deciding the legality of the decampment of the 27 lawmakers. But like I just saw a sort of cartoon. Somebody said there are three arms of government in Nigeria. The executive is headed by Bola Tinubu. The legislature is headed by Akpabio, and the judiciary is headed by Wike. I saw I saw that, and it struck me as the perception Nigerians are giving. Because you fight to take a case from River State to bring to Abuja. Why is that? Apparently, you feel you have more, you can intrigue here more than if it were done in River State, in Port Harcourt. So there is some element of truth to what people are coming to perceive as an influence that Wike has over the judiciary. One cannot discount that completely and say, no, there's no truth to that. Even me, I cannot discount that completely. Because you are fighting to remove case from one state to bring it to Abuja, where you are the FCT minister, where the federal government that you support resides. And then we see judgment after judgment going in your favor. So people are right to suspect that you have an unwarranted influence on the judiciary.
All right.
Now, coming back to Fubara, he is, as we say in that program, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, on the hot seat presently. Because as it stands, the Amahole-led legislators are threatening fire and brimstone. They are giving ultimatum. They gave 48 hours ultimatum for him to remove his 19 commissioners. They gave 48 hours ultimatum for him to present the 2025 appropriation budget to them. They gave so many ultimatums. So the situation in Rivers is like a time bomb ticking, and it could explode any moment. You have the Ijaw who have the governor for the first time threatening fire and brimstone as well, that they will defend their right to the governorship. So it is a time bomb ticking. I hope and I pray that reason and maturity will prevail to avoid bloodshed and violence and destruction.
Do you think that someone like Wike and Bola Tinubu who cares even if they paint the entire River State with human blood, as long as at the end of the day, the power comes to them? Do you think they care about all this threat that the Ijaw National Council and Ijaw Youth Council are dishing out? You think they care? Or they just all they want? Don't you think that all they just need right now is power, and how they get that power is they don't care about the process that leads to getting that power?
I remember I heard Wike say one time that Fubara can be impeached and the heavens will not fall. So I see the way they think. They have the police, the army, all security agencies. They also have their corroborators in River State, and their whole focus is towards 2027. And River State is the cow that should be mixed for 2027 from every angle. So it is a battleground, and they are not willing to subpedal.
You, as a lawyer, we've had situations where governors were impeached in the past, and after several years, like Umeha and other states too, we have other situations where after several years, the governor was returned by the court. Do you see such scenario where Fubara will be impeached, and probably after probably when the matter gets to Supreme Court, especially what they have right now? I think you said just like you noted that the real case of jurisdiction, not jurisdiction, the real case of eligibility to be at the state of House of Assembly as a member has not even gotten to the Supreme Court. And when eventually that gets to the Supreme Court, do you see is the Supreme Court that we have now, the current Supreme Court, actually ruling in favor of Fubara? Because obviously everything that is going on in Rivers State right now is illegal. The present as it is right now, as the State House of Assembly is constituted right now, is illegal, according to your own interpretation, and that it makes sense to me as well. So obviously everything is, if he's eventually impeached by this current assembly, it's obviously illegal. Do you see the Supreme Court as a body going by its antecedents? Do you see it actually being judging or ruling in favor of Fubara to return him back as governor?
Well, today I can say, and I've always said that nobody can have certainty of what the Supreme Court will say, because they have been turning up judgments that defy the basic principles of law as we know it, even by their own previous judgments. What they said previously, suddenly you will see them saying something different. Again, I go back to the fact that there's no respect for the rule of law in Nigeria. The issue of decampment has been decided by the Supreme Court itself. And it was clear, once you decamp and there's no division in the party, you have lost your seat. They did not just stop there, they went ahead to define what is a division in the party. The division that makes the party unable to function. It's not a crisis in one state. It's not a crisis about one officer. It's not a crisis in a few states. It's the kind of crisis that makes or prevents the party as a body from functioning. That's the division that will warrant you to decamp and remain. And if you look at it, clearly the PDP does not suffer that. But these are judgments that have been delivered before. So if we have respect for the rule of law, we should not be saying go to court and get another judgment. If we want to stabilize the polity, if we want to have this democracy, once the court has pronounced on the same issue, we should stay away from it. We should not urge people to go back to the Supreme Court for the same issue, and we do that because in the interval, between the time you walk your case from Federal High Court or High Court to the Supreme Court, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. Time has passed, privileges have been gotten in an illegal manner, and they cannot be retrieved. That is why you see somebody doing something and challenging, you go to court. When court has, in previous decision, determined the point of law, why should we be talking of going to court in Rivers State case when Supreme Court has decided similar issue? That you decamp, there's no division, you have automatically lost your seat. But we are being challenged. Let a court make a formal order that you are no longer there. Why is that? But again, you come back to the fact that Fubara shot himself in the foot. He allowed himself to be deceived, so to speak, by the president. When the president called the meeting, there was a court case on that issue. When the president called the meeting and gave a 10-point resolution, one of which was go and withdraw all the cases that are in court. And they went and withdrew it. It's only when the crisis reignited that some other people, not even Fubara, went to court on that issue, which now it becomes an albatross on their neck. In the meantime, other issues of presentation of budget or local government elections, appointment of commissioners, and the rest came in between, and now confused the whole atmosphere, and has led to what we are seeing today.
It's so sad and regrettable that very, very unfortunate that someone like Fubara, honestly, I'm saddened because I just unfortunately sad to say that his days are numbered as governor because these people they are careless about the law. They are careless about the human lives because obviously, if he's impeached, the entire River State, the entire River, overwhelming majority of River State indigents are on the side of Fubara. If Fubara is impeached, there will be chaos in that state, even though the federal government has the military and the security apparatus to actually call. Before they do that, honestly, because River State, you know River State, that River State is notorious with political crisis. They don't care. It is the people, the masses on the street that will eventually die. And people like Wike and the Bola Tinubu don't care about how they get there. They don't care. Even if River State is just flooded with human blood, they don't care. As long as the end, that is what they care about. The end, that's just it. The end of it, that eventually gets them power back. It is so sad. It's so sad that we have a great country, a wonderful country, Nigeria, that that things are just everything, nothing is going well. Nothing is going well. Honestly, anytime I lament over this issue, I always blame the foundation. I blame the British. I blame the British government, the first government, our colonial masters. They were the one who together they colluded. In fact, not they colluded, they instigated. Because honestly, if they had allowed us, we would have lived in harmony, peace, and harmony. But because they wanted, or they never wanted Nigeria to be a prosperous nation from the foundation, they saw all this. They saw the potential of a great nation. They want to keep a colonial. I don't know if you have noticed that. You have noticed the countries that Britain colonized. The only one that is prosperous among all their colonies, that is prosperous right now, is the US. You know why? Because among all their colonies, only US actually fought to take power away from them, fought for their independence. There was literal war between the US government, the United States people, and the British government then. So that is the reason, of course, that's why US is the most prosperous nation on earth today. Because of course, they had to fight out to snatch power from. But in the case of other colonies of Britain, they are not doing well. But I don't know if you have taken note of that. Because I keep blaming the British government for Nigeria's woes. No, not totally blaming them, because if you as an adult take the advice, or you were so weak, too weak for you to see that someone is manipulating you, too weak for you to see that someone is actually trying to brainwash you, to actually cajole you into doing something wrong, then you have yourself to blame. So that's why I'm not totally blaming the British, because Nigerians, they were our founding fathers were all adults, yet they allowed the British government to sow this seed of discord, this seed of epileptic prosperity, this seed of a nation never ever going to prosper, never ever going to move forward. Because this is all their plan. They are happy it is happening this way, Barrister.
Yes, I agree with you totally that Britain laid the foundation and deliberately laid the foundation for a dysfunctional state.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing, and they deliberately made the Federation of Nigeria to be dysfunctional. And if you go back to in the immediate aftermath of independence, it was British civil servants, British politicians, and other envoys who were advising the various regional governments.
Yeah.
They would advise the North, they would advise the East, they would advise even the Southwest. They were advising these people. At that time, unfortunately, why we can blame our founding fathers, we can also understand with them their limitation at that time. We have never had this form of government. It was more like an utopia. They look at the British government, they look at the American government, they look at other Western countries and believe that if we have such a system, it will work. We have never had it before. We were more or less having tribal organization, tribal way of running our affairs.
Barrister,
So,
sorry to cut you short. We've not had it before, but we had our leaders then. They were civilized, they were exposed, they were learned. For God's sake, like I said, you cannot be an adult. Like there are some things that just requires common sense. You cannot just come and tell me, just sit me down and tell me and give me an idea. And I refuse. I just could not. I could not scrutinize that idea and expand on the scrutiny to make sure the idea is right. For God's sake, you mean none of the founding fathers actually sat down and think and say, look, oh, this thing will actually cause us problem in future. Nobody foresaw. You won't tell me nobody foresaw such thing, or our founding fathers were as corrupt as the British government as well.
No,
Maybe that was the case.
I want to understand their limitation. They were educated, yes, but look at their ages. They were young men with a lot of hope. And like I said, we did not have or experience this type of governance before. They only saw how it was being done in other countries and believed it will work. We are talking now with benefit of hindsight, having seen the system fail miserably and having now realized the bottlenecks and roadblocks that the British put on our way of governance. We are talking with benefit of hindsight, but at that time, apparently they believe that, well, the system has worked elsewhere, it will work here as well. And secondly, you forget that the bigger intellectuals among them, like Awolowo, like Zik, did not really have the power. They did not really, the ones who can say highly educated, maybe experienced, they were not able to get that power because of the same manipulation of the British. So they were handicapped to a certain extent. So I understand with them, but they also bear a good measure of blame because they keyed into all those manipulative tendencies of the British and succumbed to it. And what we have today is the result of that.
Honestly, it's so sad. It's so sad. Sorry, guys, we delved into a different topic entirely, but that's just it. It's just my frustration. I just feel frustrated that Nigeria, as a great country, we have all it takes to actually compete with the world superpowers in economy and other matters. But here we are. We have been rated as for God's sake, at this level, we're not supposed to be a developing country. We have all it takes to be a developed country, but we are still rated under a third world country, for God's sake, still developing, just because our foundation was bad and the building is not covered. Of course, I don't. Nobody should expect anything better, because when the foundation is bad, definitely the building will have some cracks. Definitely, either cracks or collapse. So we have multiple cracks right now in the building of Nigeria. And unfortunately, and unless we Nigerians begin to see the current situation as a breaking point, honestly, this building that has already accommodated multiple cracks will eventually collapse, unfortunately, except we do the needful.